Okay.
All right, well, very familiar faces, so we won't spend a lot of time on introductions or reintroductions today. I think Tom's been at almost every one of our meetings, and Mary, you're becoming a very familiar Zoom face. So we just picked the topic today to do some question and answers. Colin and I did put together just some like top 100 question kind of lists, and we have some videos that will review that stuff if we want to go through that, or we have just some web pages that you can visit if you want to tune up on your computer trivia, or we even put some quizzes, some links to some fun quizzes together that depending on the topic, you can actually explore a lot of information that you might be looking in, whether it's like computer safety, computer passwords, computer history. I think the most interesting thing for me in researching this topic today was just that there was a lot of funny old questions just on like keyboard commands. Like if you were using Windows 98 and you wanted to get to where you could minimize all the windows on your screen at one time, what button combination would you push? And I was like, oh, it was Control B to make just your background like show up. But a lot of those are null and void now. But I guess tiny pieces of Jeopardy trivia for the future. Tom, I know you sent over a couple of questions via email before we got started, and I did carbon copy Colin on those. I don't know if he's had a chance to look at them yet, but they were specifically about Chromecast and audio, and then how to download pictures from the cloud. So Colin and I can address those real quick. And Mary, I don't know if you want to also add to that, or if you want to just hear us answer Tom's questions, and then we can have you go too.
Well, the question he has about pictures in the cloud or downloading them, that is probably something that I would wonder about. As you talk, I may come up with something.
Sure. So Colin, is it possible on your desktop, do you have access to a screen share for like the Google Photos or the Google Cloud that you can share with us?
Yeah, I sure can. It looks like I need Mike to enable screen sharing.
I just did.
Okay, cool. Perfect.
And Google Photos will look different, whether it's in an app, on a tablet, or on a phone, just the Google interface. So this will be through Chrome, because obviously Colin is doing this through his computer, but it should look relatively similar as far as what the options that you're looking for to do are.
Because one of the questions I was hoping to get answered, and I didn't ask it the right way, I don't think, is to do it on my cell phone.
And I was trying to answer yours, Tom. I did exactly what Colin's doing, but I pulled up my cell phone and went to Google Photos and tried to answer it from what it looked like on Google Photos. Okay. But this is exactly this. So, yep, that's the three dots that I was talking about. And there's the commands that you can do.
Yeah, so this is if you maximize the photo, you're gonna have these commands here on that drop down list. Let's see if I can back out. The other thing is if you want to select multiple photos, in the upper left-hand corner, there's this check mark. And you can select multiples. And then from there, we see at the top of the screen here, it indicates that we've got 4 selected, and we get these dots once again, as long as some other commands to share, to add new content. If you want to order photos, there's an easy button for that, or we can trash them. But then if you hit that drop down list again, you'll be able to download. You can do a bulk edit. You can set those to be favorites. You can change the location for the metadata that Google automatically puts in on there. If you have like location data turned on your phone, it'll automatically tag where you were through GPS. So that's sort of the deal with those commands. Was there anything else specific, Tom?
Well, I guess, I don't know. I must be doing something wrong because right now I can't even get to my photos.
So how did you get to those?
So all I did, I'm in a browser right now. I'm in Google Chrome.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I'm signed into my Gmail account. I've got my Gmail account up here in the upper right hand corner. Usually the default will be like a little colored circle with the first letter of your name to indicate that you're signed in. If you're not signed in, then your starting page is going to look a lot like this, your new tab page. And if you can click sign in and select your account or enter your password. Geez, let's see if I remember my password.
Yeah, I
here.
was just saying, risky move there, Colin.
That's come back to bite me more than once.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so now I've got my little icon here indicating that I'm signed in. And now I have access to all of the Google apps if I click on this little tic-tac-toe box here. So it gives me a drop-down menu that's got all of this different stuff. The ones that most people use most often are going to be right at the top here. We've got Maps, YouTube, Play Store, Gmail, my Drive, and my Photos specifically. So if I click on Photos, that's going to take me right to that Photos home
Oh.
screen. That'll show the most
Okay.
recent pictures that you've got. And then you can scroll through and see, go further back in time. I can search for different places, theoretically. So these are all photos that were taken in Minneapolis. I can go and let's see, Google sometimes makes albums for you. So it'll automatically organize, if I want to find pictures of certain people, if I wanted to find all the pictures I have of my son, I can click on his face and it'll automatically sort out all of the stuff that it's got facial recognition on for my son, which is very cool, but a little creepy. I can do the same with places. If I want to take a look at pictures that were taken in Mankato and North Mankato and Omaha, Nebraska, et cetera, et cetera. This is definitely not the city center.
Yeah,
so.
I was like, that one doesn't line up right.
Yeah,
Colin,
I'm actually kind of pleased about that because I can fool it occasionally.
Colin, did you put those names in, or did Google?
No, that sorts all automatically. The metadata, when I had location data turned on my phone, Google Photos would detect where I was in the world. When I took the picture, it automatically tagged those with geo metadata.
Okay.
And then it sorts it, into people, places, and dates. The date you can't turn off as long as the date is right on your phone. Google is going to know the date. The location stuff you can turn off by just turning off GPS on your phone if you're worried about being too well organized, I guess.
Fishermen and hunters don't like to have the data on their pictures because if they post their pictures and other people can find it, they will.
Right.
If people know how to look for it, they'll be like, I don't want you to know where I caught that fish at. I don't want you to know where I shot that deer at. So they'll turn the data off.
I'm kind of surprised that I don't have under my things that I don't have a mushrooms category because I've taken a lot of pictures of morel mushrooms too. But yeah, similar kind of ethos there. If I don't want people to know my my secret spots for hunting morels.
Yeah. So I don't want to. I thought about trying my phone where I was like, oh, I'll just hold up my phone really close to the camera, but it's kind of the same. This is like something so that my mom would do, but it's like the same thing that when you click on photos, you can click on just like a picture of today, and then it's the 3 dots in the corner, and that gives you all those same options of do you want to download it, do you want to save it, do you want to upload it. So not sure exactly, Tom, what it looks like on your tablet, but once you're logged in or you're able to access your Google Photos, whether it's from Chrome or from the app or from a wireless device, your cell phone or a tablet, those 3 dots in the right corner, once you select the pictures that you're interested in, should give you the options on how to download them from the cloud.
Yeah, on my phone, it doesn't show up anything like that at all.
When you
So,
click on photos,
No,
do you have
I
to
mean, I
go?
don't get the multiple dots, like what's showing up on the screen now. You have the 9 dots, kind of like.
Well, no, that's not. It's when you select the picture. Colin, can you show them how when you select the picture again, you get the 3 dots? So it's once you select the picture,
Right.
then
But
you get the 3 dots.
I,
Are you in the Photos app, Tom, on your
uh,
phone? The Google Photos app, or are you just on the regular?
I'm on the Google Photos.
Okay. Yeah, on mine, I'm on an Android. That's what you're on, right?
Yes.
Um, and on mine, if I click into it, I have the 3 dots at the top right. So I'm not really sure what's going on there.
Well, if I click on the photo, I get the 3 dots on the right, upper right.
Okay, yep, that's what you want.
Okay.
If you want to highlight multiples on the mobile, you have to push and hold on the photo. So it doesn't work the same way on the desktop where you click in the upper left. If you hold your finger down on the picture for just, a full second, it'll highlight it.
Okay.
so if I have the cloud, which I do my pictures that I take on my smartphone automatically go to the cloud and then therefore to my computer, my laptop? Or how
Yes.
do,
So if you're signed into Google Photos and you have the Google Photos app on your phone, it will automatically filter up to your Gmail account, and you can process it or access it on any computer by going through those steps.
So
Now, when you
Colin,
say
let's step back just one step you're doing a really great job explaining the Google Photos, but Mary, we gotta be sure, like Google Photos is something that's not included on every phone. So like if you have an iPhone, do you have an iPhone or an Android?
I have an iPhone.
Okay, so an iPhone defaults, like I have Google on my phone, and Apple and Google and Microsoft have started playing a little bit nicer now, but Apple's going to default to the cloud, which is going to be iCloud. So it'll save it there. Now, if you download Google Photos and you have a Google account, you can also say, I would like my iPhone photos backed up to Google. And you can also do it for Microsoft. So for me, when I take a picture on my phone, it automatically goes to the cloud, which is iCloud, because it goes to the Apple device. But I also have an extra Google Cloud and I have a Microsoft Cloud. So it's going to depend on how you have it set up.
but most likely, Mary, what you have set up is you're probably signed in with your Apple ID to iCloud. And so the default then is for your iPhone to back up your photos to iCloud Photos. So from a computer, what you can do is go to iCloud.com/photos. And then you'll need to enter your Apple ID. I don't have an Apple ID. I don't subscribe to that, but from there, it'll take you into an interface that's very much like the Google Photos interface, and you can go through and find different pictures. I believe Apple Photos does the same kind of categorization stuff automatically as Google Photos does.
Yeah, I think Apple actually kind of did it first. I mean, I remember my wife had an Apple computer, and when we imported all the photos onto her computer, I was a little terrified of how much facial recognition and sorting automatically it did. And then Google went to it kind of automatically after that, and now Microsoft does it too. Colin, if you don't have an iCloud account, can you access the Microsoft Cloud real quick? Can you access OneDrive to show what their photos look like? Or
so I don't have a personal OneDrive. I have a work OneDrive. And I probably don't have any pictures in there. Just a lot of documents.
But it would be the same way with that you'd get the buttons and the options to sync it or download it, or create. So Mary, the one thing I noticed is I don't like to have a lot of apps running in the background because we get yelled at work for using too much data. So I automatically have to back up my photos from my iPhone. It'll go to the iCloud automatically, but I have to open Google Drive and open Microsoft OneDrive on their own. And then it'll recognize like, hey, you've taken 8 or 10 pictures since the last time you opened this. Would you like us to back them up to the cloud now? So I don't set it up automatically because I don't want it to use internet data to do it. So I wait till I'm on a network somewhere, a secure network, to upload and download my photos from my iPhone to Google and to Microsoft. So I have them in 4 different places. I have the hard copy, and then I have them in 3 different cloud locations.
Okay.
Which is a lot and gets confusing, but if I can't find it in one place, I can usually find it in the other.
Okay. Well, I just been wondering what is the easiest way to get it from my phone to my laptop. But
I think if you're using iPhoto or iCloud and your phone, I think that's the easiest way, is like Colin said, is go to the iCloud app or the iCloud website, log in with your Apple ID, and then say that you want to download it to your computer. Otherwise, I mean, the old school way is you just send the picture to yourself via email by clicking on the picture on your phone and hit the share button, and then email them to yourself, and then you can download and save them to wherever you want.
I've done that before, but it's a
Time
fair
consuming.
amount of work.
Yeah.
I do a 2 different photo calendars for family,
Yeah.
and I need to retrieve photos from other people, actually. And so a lot of those come on Facebook, this type of thing, and it gets to be kind of complicated to do it, it seems like.
I would say that, so Mary, every year, my wife and I have been married for 15 years, and every year my wife always makes my mom a calendar. And like today, my mom was like, don't worry about saying me anything for Christmas unless Kate's going to make me a calendar again.
Yeah. That's what
So,
they're doing now too. They send them on Facebook saying, oh, this is a good calendar picture. And I'm going like, oh, okay, I got to take it off from Facebook and then get it onto.
But yeah, so I would say that
My
like 10 years
computer.
ago, it was even it was easier to make the calendars because your photos were only usually in one format in one area. Now that you can put the photos in so many different ways, and the way Facebook will process them, and the way you share them and send them and save them from Facebook, usually the resolution that Facebook uses doesn't look any good on a calendar. So getting the original version of that is usually a lot better, a lot more important. So just something that I've run into watching my wife try to do it. She's even more frustrated lately making them than she was 10 or 15 years ago, when it was SD cards and downloading them to the computer and having a hard copy or something like that. Now with all the different ways to store them and hide them and get them from the cloud and get them from Facebook, she finds it even more difficult to actually make them than it was a couple of years ago or 10 years ago, when there was really only one way to get and share photos.
So
Yeah.
if I was going to do a project like that, I would definitely sit down at my computer for a while with the intention of organizing all the pictures for the project. And if the best thing to do would just be to, right click on your desktop, create a new folder for all your pictures. And then if you go on Facebook or to any website, if you right click, you can go to save as for a picture.
Okay.
Assuming you're using a PC, right?
I'm using a laptop.
It's a Windows computer. It's not a Macintosh.
It's Windows.
Okay, all right. And then you can just find your pictures folder that you make and save it in there.
Okay.
And so, of course, that was an HTML object, not an actual picture. Let's find a real picture.
Yeah, meet the team. Look at Colin in a suit.
This is how you can imagine me right now. So if you right click on it and hit save image as, now we're saving it as a JPEG image, which is
Yeah.
what we want. I'm just gonna delete that other one and just hit save. Huh.
I don't think you have a name, Colin. Oh,
Oh, I just deleted. Oh yeah, I was trying to save in a folder I deleted.
Yeah.
So now I've got that in my pictures. And then so you can do that on Facebook as well. If you click into a picture on Facebook, then all you have to do is right click on it and you can save. And once you've already done it once, it'll automatically go to that location. And then if you want to grab photos off of your phone, then at that point, what I would do is go to the iCloud .com/photos and sign in, and then it should work just the same as it does on Google Photos. There should be 3 dots that you can click
Okay.
on and hit download.
Okay. Okay, I'll have to try that. Well, I've still got that in my head. All right.
Sure.
And of course, I could Google it, like you said. That was Googled, how to download photos.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, this is the
I
nice
always
thing about
forget I
IT.
can Google those things.
Right. The nice thing about IT is that you don't have to remember everything, because if you ever have a question, you can just Google it.
yeah, Mary, don't feel bad. My mom did the same thing today, where we had a running joke on Facebook going today about like IT support and her kid, and she messaged, or she tried to reply to me, but said, "Why did my messenger colors change?" And she spelled messenger wrong, which drove me nuts. But she was like, did your daughter do something? Why is it purple now? And I was like, no, and so I just Googled like, why did messenger colors change? And then Googled it and posted the article as a reply to Facebook of like, here, like, and all my older daughter has wanted for Christmas is she wants the iTunes music subscription or whatever. And so I'm like, here, Mom. She's like, I don't know how to get that. And so I just Googled like how to get iTunes subscription and share it with your family. So I Googled it and sent her the instructions, and she called today and she's like, I think I'm just going to mail her a check. And I'm like, why don't you get an iTunes subscription like she wanted? So like, I should just go get iTunes gift cards. I was like, well, you could, or you could just buy the iTunes subscription that she wants. I was like, in the link that I sent you with the instructions. And she's like, you'll just have to show me how to do it when you're here. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. And not do it for them.
Right.
That's my problem with when I ask family members, I don't know how to do this. They'll push me out of the way and sit down and they'll do it. And they'll say, you do it like this. And I'm going like, I don't even know what you did.
Right.
So
no, I had a hard time with that, because I mean, my technology's come a long way since like 2005 or 6, but in 2005 and 6, my wife was doing her master's degree in technology, but it was kind of an entry-level technology stuff, and I was like, for what you paid, like I could be done with your graduate level classes now. Like I know how to do all this stuff. It would take me 5 minutes. And she's like, yeah, but like I'm paying to learn how to do it. So like you need to show me how to do it. Like I was like, it would take me 5 minutes to do, and it's going to take me 2 hours to explain how to do it. And she's like, well, start spending. And that was right when we first got married. And I was like, oh, marriage lesson number 1.
Yeah.
So, spend the time explaining how to do it. And that's really important, Mary. And I try to explain it to like when we have guest speakers, especially like the photography guy. is like, look, I know you do this for a living, and I thought our last speaker was awesome, but I was like, I need you to explain all the stuff that's automatic for you. Like there's so many steps of the process for you that are just, you don't even think about it anymore. You just know, like, okay, I take my card and I put it here and I click this button and I do that. And it's like, it's not until he's into that complex editing software that he even starts to have to think about what he's doing. And I was like, no, you need to go back to like, not all the way to like, okay, first you push the button. But I gotta tell you, like the most interesting thing I got out of the photography class was like not having the subject centered, like when you did those 9 squares and said, it's better, you did better pictures if it's not centered. And I was like, yeah, I've been taking pictures for a long time, and I don't think I've ever thought like not to like that. There's more accent on if the image isn't centered in the screen. But I was like, I know I've always liked pictures better where it wasn't just like centered and perfect. And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense to have it cover up as many of those squares as you can, or it be in as many of those grid lines. So, yeah, it's a hard step, and the younger generation is not as patient, and they're not as good as teaching, and for them it's just so automatic that explaining how to do it is very difficult versus like, I can just get it done. And I don't know, I have a whole long speech I can give about standardized testing and how I think that's all come about, but I'll save that for another lecture, another time. But yeah, like we've just trained people to be like, how do you come up with the answer and go? Like, what is the right answer and now? Instead of like, hey, let's take the time to explain how I came to this answer. So be patient and be clear in explaining like, no, that's great that you did it, but that doesn't do me any good unless you want me calling you every time I need to do that. So can you, let me get my pencil and paper out and I'm going to write down every step and every key combination. And my mom has a notebook just like that next to her computer and printouts galore of maps. And like, even though she has an iPhone with wireless data, she still prints out like the 12-page MapQuest directions. And it's literally, it's like 4 turns. Like she lives 600 miles away in South Dakota, but it's literally 4 turns from my house to her house. It's like 60 to 14 to 90, like, and then you take 2 turns off 90 to get to their house. And it's the same way if you come back, it's 90 to 14 to 60, and it's 2 turns into my house. But every time she has like every direction of every step of every process. So I totally get it, and I'm sorry for your frustration, but please continue to revisit this process with us at any time when we get to the end of those classes or start of classes and say, do you have any questions? Is there anything we can help you to do or anything we can show you how to do? Please keep bringing it to our attention.
Okay. Okay, I guess we should go on to what Tom had.
Okay.
I kind of took over Tom's.
That's okay. Well, you guys are here, so this is the cheapest one-on-one tech instruction you guys are going to be able to get, so we're glad to help. Tom, are you still around? I think I hear you on the phone. Oh, there you are.
I was on the phone.
All right, busted. Colin has brought up the sound on Chromecast issue. So you want to explain? I threw some questions back at you, Tom, but I don't know if I got the answers yet. So do you want to kind of explain what's going on and what's happening?
Well, the deal is that we were listening to a program put on by Vine. So I bring it up on my tablet, and then from the tablet, I hook it up to go to the Chromecast, which is attached to our TV because we have just a basic TV, a bigger one, but just basic. And so the video comes out great on it, but the sound just ends right at the tablet. I can't get the sound to come out of the TV at all. And I would have thought, dummy me, that if I'm transmitting the video, that the sound would go with it too.
So there's a couple of things that could be happening. There is a glitch with Chromecast where sometimes after you cast to your Chromecast from your device, sometimes you have to turn the Chromecast off and the TV off and then back on, and sometimes that'll fix it. That's what this post is about here. Now, more likely what the issue is in your Zoom audio settings. So to change your audio settings in Zoom, it can be a little bit touchy sometimes. My guess is what you'll need to do is go into, and unfortunately I can't show you my Zoom toolbar because it's not gonna, if I move it to that monitor, it's not gonna show up. Because it would be a terrible presentation app if it did show my menu. But if you go on your Zoom toolbar,
Colin, is there any way for you to do a screenshot and share your screenshot?
yeah, I suppose I could do that. Let's see here.
I'm curious where you find this toolbar.
So when, all right. We'll see if I can do it because the toolbar minimizes when I move the mouse away, of course. This is real Houdini stuff. Let's see if I
Technology
can.
at its finest.
Let me see if I can find a
Screenshot of
an image of it on here.
Maybe do a search for Zoom toolbar and then hit images.
Okay, so when you're in Zoom and you've got a presentation going, if you move your mouse around, you should see a toolbar pop up that's gonna look it's gonna look like this.
Okay.
And so you'll have audio settings. This is before you've joined. Once you're in the meeting, it just has the little microphone with the mute button and then the start video button or the stop video button. So next to those buttons, the microphone and the camera, there's this little caret. And if you hit the caret, it's going to show you some audio devices. It'll say select a microphone, and then beneath that, it'll say select a speaker.
Colin, are you showing that right now, or?
I am not, no.
You can't because it doesn't interact, and this is just an image, Tom.
I know, I just was wondering if I was.
Yeah.
But that'll look like this.
Yep. Okay.
And so under select a speaker, most likely what you're going to see is display audio, because HDMI, well, but if it's going through the cast, you might just have to try the different options there in turn and see which one of them does it. But I'm guessing there's going to be 2 or 3 different options there for your speakers, and one of those will probably trigger to send it through to the Chromecast.
Mine currently has 6 different systems that it'll send it to. So between all the audio devices and monitors and whatnot that I have, so
yeah, I've only got 3, but Trevor's living in another century over there.
I have the internal speakers, I have the audio cards, that's the external speakers. I have the 2 monitors, which all have their own audio card, and then I have a TV that's connected and through an HDMI, so that'll carry audio too, or I have same as system. So I can use the audio card, the display audio, USB audio, or yeah. So I don't know if Chromecast audio would show up, but Tom, I was saying when I explained it, I have a problem with mine. I have one of the original 1st gen Chromecasts, and it is HDMI, but I've had to use the optical audio in order to get the sound to carry. And I don't think the original 1st gen Chromecasts were really meant to carry like digital audio. So I can't use it to go from my Chromecast to my amplifier. I can only use it to go from the Chromecast to my TV. So when I cast something, it'll only play through my TV speakers. It won't play through my amplifier. But I think that's something they resolved with later Chromecast versions. But with my first gen Chromecast, that doesn't seem to work.
Well, I have a couple of programs that will work through the TV set, but there's probably more that don't. And,
Yeah.
So, and
It has to do, if I'm not mistaken, Colin, I don't know if this is much of a technology as it is more like an audiophile thing. I think it has to do with like the compression bit rate of how compressed the audio that it's sending is. So sometimes if you're sending really high quality audio, there's not enough bandwidth between the device and a Chromecast for it to interpret it. So if it's like good sound quality, it doesn't usually go through the Chromecast very well, is what I've found out. So there's just not enough bandwidth inside that Chromecast to get really, like, if you just think about it, you know, and all the wired connections that it takes to make a good audio stream travel very well, when you start sending that over just the wireless network, you have to have either incredible bandwidth or you're just not going to get the audio because it's got to, you know, break it up into little bites and then send it over. And if it's too compressed, then it won't be able to uncompress it when it gets back to the Chromecast.
Are the new Chromecasts better than the old ones?
Go ahead, Colin.
I think they make small improvements every time they issue a new model. The price hasn't really gone up on them. But yeah, each one has got a little more capability. And of course, a lot of the changes for capability are on the computer side too. Like I think the first gens, you could only cast stuff that was in Google Chrome, but now you can cast pretty much anything on your computer. So you don't even theoretically have to be you don't even theoretically have to have an internet connection. You could just use your TV as a monitor to use for Chromecast. But Tom, you're able to, like, if you do like a YouTube video or some other streaming service, and you're sending that through your Chromecast, you're able to get audio.
Others it does and others it doesn't.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that makes me think that it's probably this then. It's probably a setting from within the program for Zoom if it's working sometimes for other stuff.
okay.
The other thing I should point out is that a recent update to Google Chrome has changed the audio settings for playing audio within different tabs. So if you have audio playing, and you guys can't hear this probably, but it pops up this little icon in the upper right hand corner to control your music. And I think if you have multiple tabs playing audio, there's volume sliders, but you can change the you can turn them on and off or skip and stuff on there, or you can even do picture in picture. So you could surf around on the internet while you've got a YouTube video playing in the corner if that really grinds your gears.
Okay. We'll try playing around with some more of that. Hey, Mike, I just got a question. After the program is over, can you stay in line for a few minutes? I want to ask you a couple of questions.
I will try to, because tonight I've got a second Zoom meeting that I'll be starting at 6:32, so I'll be watching to shut off the recording. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions, or should we dive into a little bit of the presentation stuff?
I'm fine.
Okay. And just so if everybody, I'm sure you all remember very well at this point, but if you ever want to go back and reference anything for the presentations, if you go to mankittotext.com, go to the About section and click on presentations. All of the presentations that we've done through Vine, going back a couple of years now, are listed here on this page in PDF. So if you just click on, this is the first time we've done a presentation for a Q&A session, but if you click on today's, it'll should open up in a new tab, and from there you can print it, you can download it, or you can just go through and look at it on your browser. This is nice because there's a lot of links in this presentation. So if we don't get to this stuff this evening and you want to go and check out these links, that's a good resource, and you can do it right from your browser. Or if you're feeling nostalgic and you want to go back to look at one from October 1st of 2018, you can do that too.
So we kind of, there's a lot of different kinds of questions, like I said, and so we'll try to stick to ones that seem interesting to you. And I don't know how you guys want to indicate that you're like, I'd like to see more of those kinds of questions, or I'd like to not see more of those kind of questions. So this was just, Mary, this was a homage to you. This is just a Google search of the top 100 computers questions and answers and the top 5 pages I came up with them. The guy number 3, that HAIGT, I'm not quite sure who he is, but he had a whole bunch of different series of 100 questions and answers, and most of them I saw were pretty good. A lot of them are very similar, and then like I said, there's everything from like what was the first computer called, to how many square feet did it take up, to who's accredited to the first to being the first person that invented a computer. And I was surprised to learn that it goes all the way back to like the 1800s. And it was like during the same time that like Edison was inventing the light bulb. So a couple of them had not bad links, but like where there's a lot of ads and stuff in between. But that's kind of what happens when you get the free ones. I don't know, Colin, if you want to open one of those, or one of the, if you go past the video, those ones were really good. Because the questions, I linked the questions from a test. That's a fun trivia one. That one's pretty good. So, I mean, this has 28 pages of questions, and each page has like 10 to 15 questions on it. So, but there was everything from just like the acronyms from what a CPU is, which is a central processing unit. And then there's great answers there. Explaining what a central processing unit, plus a quiz that says back to basics. And so when you go to that quiz, it's all of the basic computer questions that you could think of asking, versus the Charles Babbage question is what, like, how would you upgrade, how to use emoticons. And so before they were graphic, is a quiz section on like how to do different emoticons. And then there were some cool virus questions I thought too. I don't know. I have an interesting, I have a good interest in old viruses, because I think it's, I don't know, it's interesting. Like Colin and I talk about, like, before viruses were used for like bad purposes and stealing money and ransomware and all that stuff, like viruses were just kind of a funny pain in the butt. And so people just did like annoying things to your computer. And so like to see where they started at and what they used to do, and then unfortunately what they do now, is kind of funny. But like you can see that number 16 is the first virus was created by a 15-year-old high school student. And when you booted the Apple from an infected floppy disk, it would just make a poem that says, it will get on your disks, it'll infiltrate your chips. Yes, it's cloner. It'll stick to you like glue. It will modify RAM 2. Send in the cloner. And that's all it did, was just made a poem on your screen. And I thought it was funny. But if you click on the new virus threat, then you get lots of questions about how to protect yourself from viruses. So an interesting quiz that talks about, you know, different things based on those topics. So, and then this one, and these are all actually interactive. So the other ones that we were showing you have the answers. So you can click on these quizzes and then learn about, you know, here's the first one that was written in 1981. What was it on? And we just talked about it. Colin, what happens when you click the right answer? Did you get a fun sound on your end?
No, I'm actually sharing my computer audio
Ooh,
right now, so there's
okay.
no.
Oh, submit your answers.
I think
I
you
guess you'll
gotta
get one
submit.
right. Oh,
Oh,
you can't. You have to answer them all first. But I mean, if you've got, this is probably safer than a lot of the things that you can do on the internet these days. And it provides a good way to learn. If I was a teacher and I was teaching a computer information class right now, which I did teach a computer information class for several years, like I would be all over these quizzes, and I'd have kids submitting and then having to like show me, screen print their scores and stuff for me. So, you know, kind of fun, and it shows you how many people, how many times it's been played, how many people have played it, what's your rank compared to other people that are taking it. So, Charles Babbage is the answer to number one. And I only learned that today. I wouldn't. Did you know that one before today, Colin?
I've heard of Babbage, but I wouldn't have been able to pull that out.
Yeah. So ENIAC was the first computer. It took up like thousands of square feet. It was huge.
Yep.
So a couple of quizzes there, and then there is a video. It's a guy, unfortunately, who probably sounds like one of those people that calls to ask if you have a virus or if your computer's running slow or if you'd like support from Microsoft. And it's in, like, he does it in several different languages. This is the English version, but it does have some typos and it's not a great display. But if you're more of a auditory learner and you just want to hear somebody read you the questions and answers, this is a good 18-minute time killer instead of having to like actually look at it and read it yourself. This guy talks you through all the questions and answers. And then this was just, you know, I tried to pick some questions on topics and classes that we've done before. So what has been shown to be the most secure type of passwords? So you want to have one that's a very long list of random words combined with symbols. The longer and more complicated, less likely to be hacked. Security advisors suggest using very long list of random words strung together. The longer the password, the less likely to be hacked. Remember that if you look at those numbers, that's just the numbers on the keyboard in order. Is no more difficult than Pancake for a computer program to decipher. Most hackers don't try to figure out passwords on their own. Instead, they use software that tries to steal passwords. So it's just looking for patterns and recognition. So, and then if you want to, go ahead, Mary.
I do have a question.
Okay.
Google Chrome now will save your password, your all of that information for you.
Yep.
Which is very convenient when I go to use something, but I'm wondering how safe it is.
How good is your Google Chrome password? Your Google password?
So that's not actually the determining factor. So the main thing is to access the passwords that are stored locally in Google Chrome. I'm going to try to do this without doxing myself. But if you go to the upper right-hand corner and go to settings, then you'll see there's a passwords field in settings. And if you go into settings, then you'll have a list of all of the different websites that you have saved passwords to. Now, if I click, and I'm not going to click one of these, but if I click the show password button, what you'll get is a pop-up that asks for your computer login password to verify that it's you accessing that. So it's going to be your Windows password. Now, somebody would not be able to access this unless they had remote control of your computer or they were sitting down in front of it. But it is one of those situations where even if you don't have even if you don't have big worries about other people physically sitting down in front of your computer, it's a good idea to have a password for your Windows login, because this is the step that'll block that. So the other thing I really recommend is if you're saving passwords in your Google account, if you're signed in to your Gmail, I really recommend that you turn on two-factor authentication or two-step verification, which is basically like anytime you sign in from a new device or try to sign into your Gmail account, it's not going to let you just put in your password and you're off to the races. It's going to send a code to your cell phone. And then you take the code from your cell phone and type in. So that means if somebody somehow gets a hold of your password across the world, if they don't have your cell phone, they're not breaching your account. It's really the number
Okay.
one thing you can do nowadays to secure your important accounts is turning on two-factor authentication.
Okay. Okay, because my cell phone is asking for that, and I didn't know how much that two-person authentication, if I should do that or not.
Yeah, two-factor I mean, it does add an extra step. It can slow you down a little bit and be a little bit annoying and cumbersome, but it is absolutely the best thing you can do to secure your accounts right now. The sad fact about passwords is that we've become so reliant on them, but they're actually not great as a
Okay.
deterrent method because most of us are lazy about organizing our passwords. We use the same ones across a lot of different accounts. So that if somebody breaches one of your accounts or if there's a big leak like there was with Yahoo email a few years ago, what happened is hackers got into Yahoo's computers. They got all of these passwords and the accounts that they were linked to in clear text, and they just published them on the darknet. And then at that point, people said, okay, well, Bob Wilson at yahoo.com has been using Qwerty123 for his Yahoo account. I bet we could try that, Bob Wilson at yahoo.com with that password on Amazon and see if that's the password to his Amazon account. We can try that for Bob Wilson at AOL.com. And just trying to go through a list, and they've got bots that will, check all these different sources to see if you're doubling up your password. So if you have two-factor installed, unless they're really good and somehow got a hold of your cell phone, you're going to stop them in their tracks.
All right. Okay. That's good to know.
Colin, did you show us where two-factor authentication is in the settings?
For Google?
Yeah.
So if you click on your Google icon and go to manage your Google account, and you can go to the security tab, and right here at the top, It's got two-step verification, and you can select that on. The other thing about that, though, is that you definitely want to make sure that you have a recovery email or a couple different recovery methods for your account set up, because if you ever lose your phone, it's going to be a real big pain trying to get back into your accounts. So go through and do this whole security trouble or this security guided security thing. If you hit get started, it's going to walk you through a number of different steps to make sure your account is secure as possible.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So I've been seeing a meme lately that just said like, oh, if my teacher in 1987 who used to say like, oh, what are you going to carry around a calculator in your pocket all the time? And they're like, look who's laughing now, because everybody carries a pocket calculator around in their pocket. Like if you think of what the first computer that was around, that was 167 square meters, weighed 27 tons, and used 150 kilowatts of electricity. And like it just ran math equations. So like just think about how far we've come in the short amount of time. It is pretty interesting. So like just from 1955, in less than a century, how far we've come with computers. So if you're interested in that, this one again goes along with the viruses and the safety. If you missed the nickname malware, where it comes from, so general terms for all kinds of harmful software, including viruses, worms, Trojan horses, and spyware. And then I guess ransomware would be the latest addition to that. The term we generally refer to as malware. So it's a shortened form of malicious software, or people that are trying to do bad things with software they put on your computer. That's the name for it. And there's lots of kinds of it. So this doesn't really help tell you like how to protect you from it. We do a whole class on that, but it does give you, there's a quiz about, you know, what are the general terms about it, and different information that you might want to know. So a fun quiz if you wanted to dive deeper into that. The CPU, or central processing unit, this is just a different answer to kind of the same question. But this gives you, again, just computer trivia, a little different information. On that other one was like, okay, I've replaced my typewriter with a computer, and what kind of CPU do I need? That one's a little bit more advanced. Text emoticons, if you're having a hard time figuring out, like now they have the animated ones and the other buttons, but I'm still a big fan of using colons and semicolons and parentheses to show my emotions. But different kinds of emoticons that you can use, and ways you can do it. I still think it's really creative. I remember all the old basic programs where you'd have to do lines and lines of brackets and parentheses and carets and greater than and less than signs. And like after you typed in hundreds of those symbols, you would have a picture when you were done on one page. But you know, now kids can just click a button and there's a smiley face or a unicorn on their screen. But just some fun, interesting stuff that you can do, if you're bored. This is the virus question again. So different stuff you guys can learn about viruses and where they kind of the history of where they came from and what they did, and then kind of what they've evolved into now. And like there was hundreds of pages of these. I could have picked any one of those, like from the first couple of those first 5 on the first page, whereas the top 100 questions and answers about computers. And then the last 5 slides were all different quizzes that were hundreds of questions long about computers. So just depending on what, I wanted to provide some resources through Google and through some quizzes, some interactive stuff and some video stuff, just to show you, you know, where you can dig into research if you can't wait a month to talk to Colin and I, where you might be able to find your answers or the information that you're looking for. And Mary, hopefully ways that you can look it up that you can figure out how to do it without having somebody just do it for you.
Yeah.
So figuring it out on your own and practicing is probably the best way to do it, but knowing that you're in a safe environment or that you're not going to do something dangerous is also important. So, you know, having that somebody like my mom does with me to call in the middle of the night and go, hey, is it safe if I do this? It says I have to click OK to continue. And it's like, do you have any other options? No. Okay, well, then click OK to continue. And don't call me so late at night. So, but I get her back. I make my kids, like my son's birthday was this weekend and he got up at like 7 in the morning and they're in South Dakota. So it's an hour earlier. I was like, hey, you should call grandma and tell her thanks for the birthday card. See how much she likes that 6 o'clock wake up call. It's like, I remember college and my mom calling me on Saturday mornings at 6 in the morning. So here you go, paybacks. But yeah, making sure that you're safe and you have a good feeling of where you're starting and knowing who to ask questions about. But these things will all give you, it's a safe, interactive way to get information and learn about some things. And then, I don't know, maybe have, I feel like we've had a pretty good class, but, you know, maybe just dive into some deeper questions or bigger questions for you the next time. So.
Okay.
I know Mike had to step away, and I'm not going to be hurt if we call it early, and I don't think Colin would be early, but do you guys have any other questions or something else you'd like to talk about before we go?
Using event.
Okay.
Using event.
Oh, Mike's back. He's checking on us.
I just checked back in. I heard you mention my name.
Well, I was just saying if there weren't any other questions that we might be able to cut it out a little early today.
Okay, well, that's okay with me if it's okay with everybody else.
Yep. Mary, Tom?
I think so. I think so.
Okay.
On a different one, and he might be.
All
Great to
right,
see everyone again.
Tom?
Oh.
Tom, do you just want me to hang around for a second?
Yep. It won't take very long.
Okay. Okay.